Offensive coordinator Brian Callahan joins me in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And man, he covers a lot of ground. It's almost like a personnel scouting report on key contributors for this football team offensively during the course of this upcoming season. Veteran players as well as newcomers, both acquired in veteran free agency and via the draft. And man, when Coach Brian Callahan speaks, you got to listen because he is a football savant, man. The dude knows what he's talking about. Football knowledge extraordinaire in the Callahan family. His father coached in the National Football League for a bunch of years as well. The Callahans, it's a first football family, and Brian Callahan is as good as it gets. Welcome once again to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham. We're in our First Star Logistics studios, which are second to none. We appreciate First Star for that. And we appreciate this guest that's joining us today. Friend of the show, good friend of the show. He's been on with us many times, and it's always worth your time. None other than offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. How you be, sir?
Fantastic. Happy to be on.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. So, organized team activities, mini camps, it's all concluded. Give me your take. What do you think?
Got great work in, got a chance to get all the young guys integrated into the system and get everybody up to speed. And I think our vets got great work. It's more of a tune-up for them for training camp. It's the way that we structure the OTAs and the OffSeason program is very much a lighter load physically. But they do a great job with the mental part and, fine tuning their techniques, which is really all we're concerned about is keeping that fundamental drills, keeping our fundamental skills sharp and getting ready for when we hit training camp that we're ready to go win football games.
I think the players really appreciate what you described there. It's the physicality of it is very reasonable to say the least. So they don't just go through the motions. They're out there. There's tempo, there's pace, there's urgency. I mean, guys are getting work done. There's no doubt.
And that our players allow us to do that. We couldn't do this if our guys didn't respond that way. We couldn't structure our offseason program with this in mind if they were just sort of going through the motions and not. I mean, our guys come out to practice and it's detailed, it's focused. They put in great work when they're in the building. And that's part of treating guys like adults and like pros, and they respond in turn. So that's what makes our program unique, and I think that's what makes our team unique. Is we got a bunch of guys that love playing football and know how to handle themselves professionally, and it allows us to be easier on them physically because we know whenever they step out there, that work is going to be just as intense. Might not be as physical in terms of just bodies on bodies, but it's going to be really intense, really focused, detailed work.
And it's I guess trite, but it's a tight group. I mean, guys, they not only enjoy each other from a football standpoint, but they like being around each other, period. It looks like, I mean, it is a very, very close unit. I'm talking about players, coaches, coach to player, player to coach. The whole dynamic of it seems unbelievably great to be a part of.
It's a lot of fun to be a part of as a coach. I know that, it's a relationship business. It always will be. And, as long as guys feel like that you've built trust and you've built ability to communicate and they're going to get the truth from both sides, it's really easy to have that type of relationship with our players. And I thought Joe made a really interesting statement the other day in his press conference when he talked about it's real love. Those guys love each other, and I think that's rare in pro football. You know what I mean? Like that's not what every locker room is like, and we're very fortunate that we have a bunch of guys that are all very like-minded and do truly love playing with each other, love being around each other. I mean, look at Logan Wilson's softball game. Just the energy and the response and the joy that those guys have being around each other is really fun. And to me, that's the difference between winning and losing the NFLs. If you can have a team that plays hard for each other, I think that matters.
It's interesting in that presser, he was responding to a question I asked him about, the relationships guys have on the team. And when he was looking at me and answering it, I mean, I could feel his emotion. I was kind of having some emotion. It's like, fighting the eyes welling up a little bit. It was real. I mean, it was an unbelievable response by Joe Burrow, but that speaks volumes about him and all of his teammates. The thing too, like I'm watching Irv Smith Jr., watching the rookies. It seemed like that they took, it used to be the grease board, but now it's the basically the computer screen. They take it from that. They take it from that to the football field. It's not like, oh, okay, well, I get it when I look at it, but boy, can you take it out there and take those X's and O's and translate that to actually going out there and doing it to a cornerback or a linebacker, or whatever the case may be. And it looked like guys were able to do that. Were you impressed with how guys were able to pick up and retain and implement what you guys were installing?
Yeah, and it's twofold. The rookies, really did a nice job. Especially, we have 3 rookies that I think that we feel really confident that they can probably help us with Chase Brown, Andrei Iosivas, and Charlie Jones. Those guys are drafted players that we feel like can contribute for us in roles. And to see the way that they've worked, I walk out of the building at in the off season around 5:30, and they're all in the weight room and they're walking through the script for the next day. And it's a testament to them. They put the work in to learn it. They approach their jobs very professionally for young players, which is impressive. It doesn't always go like that. And so they were able to take all the coaching to the field because they weren't thinking as much about what to do. They were more focused on how. And I think that when you have a chance to, once you know where to line up, what to do, and where to go, now it becomes how do you get open? How do you execute the scheme? And I thought those guys advanced really quickly because of that, the work that they put in. And I think Irv Smith Jr. has been super impressive in that regard because I'll be watching the tape and I'll see something I want to correct, and I just walk down to James Casey's office and it's 5:00 in the evening, and guess who's in there? Well, Irv's in there, and they're watching film of something, and so I can walk down the hallway and coach Irv at 5 in the evening, and he's still in there grinding. So it's not a surprise those guys have done that to the degree that they have, is because they put a lot of work into it. It's been really impressive to see those guys work and how important it is to them, and that's how you got the right guys.
As a former offensive lineman who never ran a route or anything like that in his life, although I take it back, I was a tight end, short yardage goal line, in high school, and actually even in college for a year. But watching guys like Irv Smith Jr., man, that dude is smooth. Mm-hmm. He's fluid. He gets in and out of cuts. Looks to me like he's a big receiver. Big body receiver. Talk about the strengths of these weapons that you're talking about. The rookie wideouts, Irv Smith Jr. What do they bring to the table for you as an offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, Irv is he's we've sort of been a tight end improvement factory around here these days. Right. That's a testament to James and all he does with those guys. But Irv is probably the most pure pass catching tight end that we've had. I thought Hayden was a little bit bigger, a little bit longer than Irv, but I think Irv is a really detailed route runner. He's got good speed. He's a very natural catcher. He's got good awareness. He's extremely coachable, and so his speed and athleticism and ability to catch and then run after the catch as well, I think will be a really different element than we had. Hayden, they're just different style players.
Right.
And I love Hayden and everything he brought to us. I just think what Irv's ability is going to be a little bit different. He'd be more dynamic in the passing game potentially. And so, and look, Irv was a high draft pick, just like Hayden was. These guys weren't, it's not like we're finding diamonds in the rough here. These guys were good players right. coming out of college. And, we felt like that Irv was the one that fit us really well. So when Hayden decided to go to Carolina, and I couldn't be happier with what he's done so far and how I see him helping us. In the pass game, he's going to be a lot of fun for us to use and utilize with all the attention that gets paid to Jamar and T.
What about Charlie and Andrei? What's your impression of what those guys showed in the early stages here?
Both of them are relatively polished as young players. I wasn't sure what Andrei would look like coming from Princeton. Would it be too big for him still? Will he need a lot of time? We felt like he might need more time than what he's shown. He's shown that he can play and compete and really help us, I think. And you feel his speed and his size. His athleticism is off the charts. Obviously, everyone knows he was a heptathlete, and you feel that. I mean, he's big and powerful and strong. He's got a great catch radius. He's got strong hands, and it's more natural to him than I would have thought. He doesn't look like a kid that played at Princeton. He looks like a kid that played at Ohio State or in the SEC. I mean, he has real skill, and he's been fun to watch. And I'm excited to see when the pads come on what he looks like. But he's a true traditional outside receiver that hopefully can, for us, contribute in some special teams roles as well because of his size and speed, and really add the depth to that room and add some competition to that room. He's been fun to see so far. Charlie, you just see Charlie's versatility. He's got great change of direction ability, but he's got real downfield speed. He's a legitimate 4.4 runner. You see it when he runs. He can open up and really stretch the field vertically as well. So with his skill set, he can play inside, he can play outside. Obviously, his return ability is a big part of helping our team this year as well. But really like where both those guys are at. I mean, we feel like we got two really good receivers in their rookie years that hopefully can contribute for us at some point. Now, obviously you want all three receivers to be healthy all year, but if for some reason those guys got to step in, I feel really confident in where that room is at, both top end talent and depth wise.
You just hit a word right there that is really impressive in my opinion. I mean, watching the number of players out there that belong. I mean, everybody belongs. You don't have anybody that's like, what's that guy doing here? It's a hell of an accomplishment to roster. I mean, to make the 53-man roster on this football team, it's going to be competitive at every single position group. I mean, it's a nice problem to have, but I mean, that's the nature of the beast. That's life in the National Football League and right here in Cincinnati right now, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're going to end up cutting good players. That's just going to be, when you're a good team, that's what happens. You cut players that are probably going to go play for somebody else and make other rosters. And that's a good problem to have because it allows us to have a really deep team that if something happens, one guy comes in and plays well and there's no drop off. And that's the idea. Really credit to Duke and his staff, all those guys upstairs that do all the scouting and put this stuff together. And Steve Radistovic in the pro side with the free agency. I think we've just really built over the last 3 years a Super Bowl caliber football team. And, we've continued to get better every year. We've had success on the field, and I think our roster's gotten better each year. And truthfully, this is as good as I feel about our roster and our team since we got here 5 years ago now almost. And so I'm really excited to see what it looks like come training camp and when the season starts. But I feel great about where our roster's at.
You have a quality offensive line coach in Frank Pollock, and man, he's got a bunch of guys that have NFL experience, not just football experience, but NFL football experience. There's depth in that offensive line too, isn't there? Yeah,
and that's the name of the game. I mean, our depth has been tested up front really every year. That's just the nature of the NFL, and we got into some big games, and we had guys that in backup roles that had to start against great players, the Chris Joneses and Aaron Donalds, and those guys are hard to handle. And the more good offensive linemen you have, the better off you're going to be. And I think this is probably as good as we felt about that particular room as well. With you add Orlando, and you still have Jonah, and you have Jaxson, and you have LC. You got Trey Hill. Don't forget about Trey Hill. He's been a really improved player over his time. Max Sharping, we got late in the year, late in the process last year, signed him at the end of training camp. So, really his half a season here before he really even knew what we were doing half the time. So it's good to have him for a whole off season, and he can get ingrained in the techniques and things that Frank's teaching. And then we added Jaxson Kirkland, who I think has shown well for himself, like all of our young players so far in this early portion of the the 23 season coming up. And so feel as good as I can feel about that. And then you got Akeem Adeniji, you got Deontay Smith, guys that have played football for us in really pretty big roles over the course of their careers. So experienced group, still young, there's still a younger group in the backup roles, but guys that have played a lot of football. And so the more of those guys you can have, the better. That's there's no question that you need depth at that position, probably more than anywhere.
I'm real excited and interested to see what Kirkland brings, once training camp starts and put on the pads and all that, because the eyeball test, he passes with flying colors, man. 6'7", a good 328 pounds. I mean, it's not a sloppy 328. It's a put together 328. That dude is a specimen. He really is.
Yeah. He, I think injuries sort of derailed his, his college career at the end. I think at one point he was probably considered to be a relatively high draft pick, probably a day 2 draft pick. And just the nature of offensive linemen, things you get hurt, you're battling through injuries, you don't play as well as you are capable of when you're fully healthy. And so feel like he was a steal for where we found him as a college free agent, and he's really shown well for himself so far. It'll just add to that competition.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Dave Lapham, and we do a podcast called In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And if you want to hit the like button on when you're reserving any video, that'd be a good thing to do. And if you want to subscribe and not miss any videos, make sure you do that, because we are going to try to cover the Cincinnati Bengals every way that they can be covered.